Guys, what's going on? My name's Dave. This is Dick's 4x4 Garage, and today we're going to get busy on some stuff for Project Goldy. That's the 79 square body K20. So we started out, we had video one, part one. That was the transfer case, the 205. Let me pull you up off of the drill press here, and I'll show you what's going on. So I've ordered a gasket kit from Off-Road Design. So that should be here, probably going to be next week sometime. When it gets here, we will start assembling this sucker and getting it back together, because you know there's like little seals that go in here, and then I think all my seals are pretty fresh, but you might as well just put new seals in it, you know. So but anyhow, so everything's laid out, you know, input shaft, that output shaft. This is the front wheel drive one. This gear goes on here. We got to do a couple layers of needle bearings, you know, so a needle separator needle, and then the gear goes on. So we'll do all that once the parts come in. We'll make that part 2 video. We should be able to handle it all in one video, I'm thinking, I hope. But let you look around a little bit, see what's going down. I want to keep the ball rolling, so we're going to probably get into some different stuff. I'll probably get the engine up here, maybe get the bell housing, the bearing, and the transmission. Maybe we can see if we can like get that all together, and then I'll go over like talk about like the clutch setup and the throwout bearing and the flywheel, all that stuff that I use to like make this work. It's really actually pretty easy. When I first did my very first swap, that was one thing I did. I decided to go with the SM465 because, well, for one, I had it because I had a 350 and a turbo 350 in the Blazer, and the turbo 350 went out, so I decided to do an SM465, and then turns out the SM465 to an LS was actually one of like the easiest things. I mean, none of them are hard, but it was one of really the easiest things. All it really took was a hydraulic throwout bearing. Didn't have to shim it, nothing, like everything just worked with it. And then just you know, a master cylinder to drive that. But that's really it. So let me grab some stuff. We'll pull it over here, and we'll get to going on something else. All right, so I got the clutch up here, and this clutch, you'll notice, well, the flywheel, I guess, first, but you'll notice on this flywheel that it's thicker, right? So, but the mounting surface is like same spot, but this is thicker. So it's just because like just the offset of the bell housing versus where the back of the crank is. So that's just, this makes the difference. So I think it's a Sachs something. I don't know if the part number is still on here. I will look. But anyhow, I'll find it. I'll link it. But it's just a Sachs. I mean, I got a O'Reilly for like, oh shit, 40 bucks back in the day. But anyway, so that's that. And then we can look at it and wipe it down here. And so, you know, I don't think she's going to need to be turned or anything like that. We'll just hit her with a little brake clean here. Clean her off a little bit. And definitely some clutch material in there, you know, look. Clean that up. So there's that. Got a little caked up grease or something on there. But anyhow, there's that. Here's the clutch. So this is just a Lux clutch. I think it's for a 74 72 K20 or something like that. I think that's what I picked. 72, 70. I don't know. As long as it's got the SM465, but it's just super cheap. And then here's our here's the flex plate. So we'll just give this one a little wipe too. then they both look good, you know, like there's a little bit of bluing, you know, but for overall it doesn't look that bad. And it didn't really like chatter or anything, so I'm not gonna worry too much about it. But anyhow, so there's that. All right, guys, another day back in the garage. It's Sunday. Ran up this morning, got some ultra gray and just some blue Loctite, so when we go back together with this transfer case, we can use that stuff. And then we're gonna have to pull the top cover off of the transmission. I'll show you in a minute. So I'm gonna go over the engine. We'll pull the cover off. We'll talk all about the engine and how it came to be, and then we'll also talk about the SM465. So I got a whole bunch of stuff written down here because I forgot everything. So I had to go look up old build threads and stuff and remember and think and connect the dots in my head so that we can, so that we can figure it out, because I'm just like, I don't remember anything. So it's been a long time. But yeah, so let's go over this. We'll pull the cover off, I'll walk you around it, and then it's story time. All right, so let's pull this cover off and we'll take a look, and then we're gonna go over everything. I really need a new bag for this thing, but we're gonna get started on it, so we'll be all right. She's a little dirty, but I'll bring you in. I'll get you up off of the mount here. So this is her in all her glory. I'm gonna show you around it a little bit. So this is a, well, it's my 5.3 just ball of goodness here. I love this engine, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So this was the first one that I built from the ground up, and she didn't blow, she goes. So 862 heads. They're a 61.15 cc chamber. They've got a good intake valve, like a 2-inch intake valve. They move some air. They're pretty good. You know what I mean? Like there's better ones out there, but these ones work good, and they create a high compression situation. I think the compression on here when I run the calculator is like 10-4, 10 to 2, 10 to 4, something like that. So it's good compression. So we got to run premium up in here. All right, the bore and stroke, it's the same. So let me tell you a little backstory. So when I first started this whole swap process, I had got an LS1 everything except for the heads, and then I started taking it apart, and I realized that the block, somebody had fixed the side of the block, and one of the head bolts, I think it was this like lower one over here, like the back one, was like completely stripped and thrashed. And so I think what had happened is somebody probably tightened it down with like some water down in the bolt hole, and it like cracked the side of the block. Anyways, they did a good TIG job, but I took it to a couple machine shops, and it just really wasn't worth fixing it. Like, I would have just probably always had problems, so I decided to nix that. So, but I had a good rotating assembly, and then I was like, all right, well, I'll look around. So then I ended up buying a 4.8 that I got for a good price, and it had a chewed up cam. One of the lifters had chewed up the cam, and it had spun a rod bearing. So, but we had a good block and a lot of good components out of that. I think that's where these heads came from, if I'm not mistaken. So I was deciding what to do. Ended up ultimately not wanting to do a 4.8, so I was able to use the LS1 crank and the LS1 rods, and then the pistons were bored out so that I could use the pressed wrist pins. So I ended up doing that. So it's LS1 crank, LS1 rods, 4.8 pistons, and that's pretty much how the bottom end is this. And then they sit on some clevites, and I haven't had any issues with any of that. LS6 valve springs in here, new valve seats. The valves were lapped. I didn't do a full valve job, but I just lapped them. They came out looking pretty good. And that's really it. Got new oil pump, it got new chain, used stock rockers, stock push rods, LS1 throttle body. The intake is LS1, along with the injectors are LS1, and valve body is LS1. So everything is pretty much set up like an LS1 Camaro. It's even got a purge valve on the side. I'm going to bring you up off of the cam, or off of the mount there, and I'm going to show you some things that are a little different with this engine, just so that you know. One thing I forgot to mention on here is that it does have, like, if you'll look at this cover, it is different. It's got the provision for the cam sensor. So the reason it has that is because this has an LS9 cam in it, and so on the LS9 cam, the sensor at the back of the block can't read, so we have to use this cover with that sensor, and it's just basically just like a longer pigtail that we use. So you can see, like, factory puts it down here, but reason I had to go with that. And then, like, the gear is the same as far as size. It just has, like, the deals that the, like, the, I don't know, whatever that the cam or the cam sensor reads. So coming around here, I'll show you on the other side. There's more lighting, but in the back. So this is like a stock LS oil sender. So what I did is I just knocked the top off. I tapped it. I just used some old school fittings, and I put the, like, old school, like, just the sender that came for the truck, and then it works good. I can read my oil pressure and all that stuff. And then over here, it's got this temp sender. All I did was this. I got the stock temp sender. I just filed it down, and I used, I think it's an M1215 die, and then it fit right in there. And so then I can have water temp inside the truck with the stock gauge. You'll see here, this is the adapter plates, and then they just go to an old school style bracket. That way you can just put it, like, right down on a regular old school style you know, motor mount, and then that pretty much takes care of that. I'm trying to think about what else is different about this thing. It does got a purge valve on it, because we're gonna set it all up so that way all that stuff works. So, and then this truck, you know, it may never get registered again. It may never go out, you know what I mean? I'll probably tow it, maybe take it to the dirt, probably get, like, you know, an off-road sticker or something for it. But, you know, we're just gonna make it as cool as we can. So anyways, let's get on to some other stuff. All right, I did get out the other night, Friday night, and I went out on a treasure hunt trying to find, because I knew that I had them. So I did find the these are transmission to bell housing bolts right here. I found my clutch bolts, and I found some other bolts laying around that I figured, I was like, I'll just get them. And then I found the bolts that hold the flywheel on. Now I'm going to order new ARP bolts. These are probably like single-use bolts. I'm sure they would be fine. However, I want to have new ones. And I want to thank my old self for hiding these in a spot where I couldn't find them. But the reason I did that is because if I did find them, I would have probably used them for some kind of other project. So I'm thanking my old self. All right, so behind the engine, we've got the bell housing here, right? So this is just an old school bell housing. So this whole transmission clutch setup is for, like, let's just call it a 72 K20. So that's like what I base everything off of. The only difference here, so it's still like the regular old school mechanical clutch stuff. I just put the boot in it. I run some lines through here. So it's got our hydraulic line that comes from the master. This will mount up onto the firewall. It's a Tilton 7/8. I think I'm going to go with a 3/4 just to make the pedal softer, but everything's been working. I just got a little Heim here. This comes and hooks to the side of the pedal. I've already got the manual pedals inside of Goldy, so we're good to go there. And then on the inside, just kind of sitting around, we've got, this is the fluid reservoir right there. So we got that. And then this is the bearing. So this is a Howe hydraulic throwout bearing, and pretty easy. So it's just got, it's got the input from the master, right? So that goes up in there, and then it goes in here. This rides on the back of the clutch. No shimming is needed. And then we've got this guy right here. So this is just like the bleeder screw, so you just mount that a little bit higher and then you just bleed it and good to go. And bearing still seams and feels good, so we'll just, you know, wipe her off a little bit and she'll be okay. Now let's talk about this guy right here. So this is our clutch setup. Like I said, 72 K20. This is the clutch setup that we got. So we'll pull that off. We'll pull the clutch disc off. Now, this flywheel, we've already talked about this here, and I think we've talked about the spacing, but I'll talk about it. I'm going to touch on it again. So I think early model 4860s, you wouldn't have needed to use this. I think later on they moved the, so that where the crank is at, the length of the back of the crank is shorter on the newer engines. So that's why the mounting surface is here, and then you can see the thickness of the clutch. So all that does is just takes up the thickness between the back of the crank and the mounting surface of the bell housing, you know what I mean? So it's just, so all you need is this, and that's it. So pretty simple setup right here. All it is just a master cylinder, fluid reservoir, and then the bearing. All right, so that's how all that works out. And then we just have just the old school clutch that works great. Now I did, and I was trying to find like a build thread where I talked about it, but I didn't see any dowels in this bell housing, or sorry, in this flywheel. So I think what had happened is this clutch right here, it doesn't even have anywhere that the dowel pin can go into, and these bolts, so I'll pull this off here. So these clutch bolts right here, so it looks like what we got on this pressure plate here is there's 3 holes that when the bolts are in, like there's really like no movement at all. Now 3 of the holes are a little bit bigger, so there's a little bit of movement, but you got 3 of them to where like the bolts really, there's no movement at all. And I think I had originally had to take it out because there's no real provisions on this, and I think it was holding it up. And then I don't recall having any issues with it or any problems. So I just wanted to show that to you. That way you know, please don't lose that. I'll leave that right there. And that's it. So let's move on to the transmission. All right, so we're down at transmission level here. And this is the SM465. It's made by Muncie. And it's a SM because it's a synchro mesh, and I don't know what the 465 stands for, so that's about all you got. Now they were used, from what I could find online, they were used from 68 to 1991, and that was in like the Chevy trucks, and I think they used them in everything from half tons all the way up to, you know, 1 1/4 tons. They're super strong. They shift sort of like a dump truck, but super strong. I've never had any issues with it. There's nice big gears in there. The only issue with this one here is that 3rd to 4th, or which would be second to 3rd depending. So if you go granny, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 3rd to 4th, or 2nd to 3rd, sorry, a little bit, you know, it's not, you can tell like the synchro's worn. So, but I just baby it and it's fine, and there's no issues. And then this is our adapter here for the transfer case. Thing that I didn't do good was when I had this sitting over there, I had left this shifter off. So show you on this shifter, it just it's not on all the way, but you just push down and like twist this thing here. It's kind of a pain. See if I can get a hold of her. There we go. Alright. So I had left this out, so some stuff got down in here. So we're going to have to pull this top cover off. So we're going to have to pull this top cover off and just kind of clean up in there. And then also this part of it will clean up all of the, where this ball rides right here. We're going to clean up the surface here, re-grease it, do all that stuff. And then on this right here, we've got, you see that movement? So I'm going to find a new pin for that so I can keep that movement down, because I want to reduce as much movement as possible. And then that's just slop in your shifting. Those little tack welds right here, you can see that there's movement right there, so it's broken there, and it's also broken on this side. So we're gonna clean those up, pop new tacks in them, and get this sucker back together. So today we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull this top off and clean it up. Check it out. All right, so I got this sucker locked in. So you're gonna see the reasoning for that here in a minute. Let me try to get this better in the frame. So to take this cover off, the best way that I found is to be, I'm pretty sure, partially into reverse. So let's see. Let's see how all our gears work. Granny, first, second, third, over, reverse. So we want to be like halfway into reverse when we pull this top cover off. So let's get some tools and we'll pull this off. Now let's start pulling this sucker apart here. So we got our top section here, the with the shift forks and stuff in it. So we're going to take a look at this. And so there's a little bit, I don't know if you can see it, but just a little bit of like surface rust in here, like nothing crazy. So I think everything that fell into this like just kind of went on top of this assembly here. Think we're gonna be all right here. We just got just a little cleanup and it'll be all good to go. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so that looks a lot better. I'll bring you up off and I'll show it to you here. Give him a light. Give him a light and get you. And we'll come on down. So it was pretty dirty, but I sprayed it down. Everything is looking all good in there now. So no problems. And then this area we cleaned it up right there. So we're gonna get in here, clean this up a little bit, lube it up, and she be shifting smooth, baby. I don't really see anything here. I think we got everything out. I think it was just like dog hair and stuff like that, you know, like just stuff from in the garage. So I'll hit it one more time and then with the juice, and then we'll lube it up a little bit. So this thing wasn't as bad as we thought. I'm just letting it dry here, letting the brake clean dry, and then I'm just gonna lube it up with some motor oil. And then that way we can put it back together. I just cleaned the mating surface, so I'm gonna go clean the mating surface of the transmission next, and then we'll get it back together. Alright, so I don't want to get this too drippy with oil and stuff because we're gonna have to put silicone around it, and I just want to like a little bit, you know, so just a little bit on these guys here. So now, when we put the shifter back on here, we'll make sure to put a little bit of grease around here. Everything should be all groovy.
Alright, so we're going to run through the gears on this thing. In general, it'll either go or it won't go. So if it went, it's probably going to work. Now, I've taken this thing off while it's in the truck. Been an absolute nightmare to put the thing back on. But if you do that part reverse kind of thing, I don't know, I read it somewhere and it seems to work. And then it just, when it's ready and it's lined up, it'll just go cluck, cluck. Be good to go. So let's make sure we got reverse. We got reverse. Make sure we got granny. First, second, third. Now I want you to notice there's lots of, you see all that slop right there? Now all of that really, like there's some in the transmission obviously. A lot of that is in our stick, okay? So we're gonna have to fix the stick. So we'll take it out, we'll fix up that deal, and then it should be a lot tighter. Now you're gonna have some movement, but like the forward and back just kind of overall sloppiness of it, we want to try to correct that a little bit. So there's a couple ways we're going to do that. So at least we got the top back on, we got it silicone down. I'm going to go ahead and torque these suckers, and then we'll move on to something else. I think we're going to wrap this video up right here. I appreciate you rolling with me. Thank you so much. You like this video, please hit the thumbs up button and you know, do all the other stuff. But anyhow, comment. Yeah, let me know what you think, because we've got a lot to do to get this truck ready, and we're not trying to get it ready for anything except for us, you know what I mean? So it's not going anywhere, it's not doing anything. I don't need it to do anything, but I just think that the truck deserves to be linked and to look pretty awesome, even if it's just going to ride on the trailer the rest of its life, you know what I mean? So no skipping over anything. Everything that we do, I'm going to cover it, whether that's, you know, putting a transfer case back together, or, you know, cleaning up a transmission, or building brackets for our 4 links. But I'm going to go over it all. So I know in the past maybe I've skipped some stuff, but in this one I'm going to do my best. So video a week for the most part, and then we just going to go through everything. So I appreciate you guys rolling with me. Thank you. Dave out.